Harmony is what you get when two or more sounds are played at the same time. Another word to use is chords. So when we're talking about harmony, what we're really thinking about is the chords used in a piece of music. So I'm going to talk to you about different kinds of chords and how they're formed. Now, if you watched a previous video on tonality, then you'll know that the vast majority of music that you'll recognize is diatonic. And that is to say that it's based on a diatonic scale, like this, the C major scale. So if a piece is in the key of C major, it's based on the scale of C major, and all the notes come from the C major scale. It's a 7-note scale from C up to C. And if we replace those letters, we can see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1 again. And every chord, the most simple chord, is based on 3 notes. And we start with the root, the first note of the scale, and then we have the 3rd note, a third above, and then we have the 5th of the scale. Okay, so that is a simple triad, and we'll call that the C major triad. Okay, so it's the root, the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th. So chords, as we've just looked at, the most common chord is called a triad, and this is made up of 3 notes. Each triad is named after the first note, known as the root note. And the other notes in the triad are found a 3rd above and a 5th above the root. So this chord is called C, because it's a C chord because the root is C. If we were to translate those notes up to F, the root now is F, so it's the F chord. And the same with G. Now this is the G chord. Major and minor. The main 2 types of chord are major chords and minor chords. A major triad can sound happy, fun, joyful, uplifting, or exciting. Okay? A minor triad sounds sad or serious, somber, angry, and depressed. And it's often the chords, the harmony of a piece of music, that contributes the most to the mood of the piece. So looking at major chords are made up of a root note, a major 3rd, and a 5th. So the root note here, G, and then a major 3rd, and then the 5th. Okay? The major 3rd is 4 semitones above the root. Okay? So G, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 semitones, and then the 5th. Okay, so that makes up a major chord. A minor chord is made up of a root, a minor 3rd, and the 5th. And the minor 3rd is 3 semitones higher than the root. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. So then there are 2 other kinds of triads that I want to talk about. The first is diminished. So diminished chords are made up of a root note, the minor 3rd, and rather than a 5th, we've got a flattened 5th. The 5th is lowered a semitone. Okay, so what we get here then is 2 stacked minor 3rds. We've got a minor 3rd here, and then another minor 3rd. Okay, so that makes a diminished chord. The other type of triad is an augmented chord. Augmented chords are made up of a root, a major 3rd, and a sharpened 5th. So here we've got 2 major 3rds stacked on top of each other. We've got a major 3rd, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got another 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Right, so just in summary, diatonic triads. We've talked about the diatonic scale being a 7-note scale, And diatonic triads are triads based on from notes from that diatonic scale. It's 3-note chords formed from the diatonic scale of stacked thirds, thirds stacked on top of each other. This is known as tertian harmony, when you've got thirds one on top of the other. Now if we look at that major scale again, what we can do is we can harmonize each of those, so having stacked thirds, triads, based from each of those notes of the scale. Now what we find when we do that is, because of the pattern of semitones and tones in the scale, we get a particular pattern of major, minor and diminished chords. So in a major scale, the first note, the first chord of a major scale is always major. So we've got our C major in this example. The second chord in that scale is always minor, so we've got D minor. So remember, the minor chord has a minor third at the beginning. The third chord of the scale is minor as well. Then the fourth is a major chord. The fifth is a major chord. The sixth chord is minor, and the seventh chord is diminished. Remember, diminished chords being that stack of minor thirds. And then we're back to C major again. And you'll find that this is the same pattern for any, whatever key you're in, whatever major key you're in. So if we're in G major, we'll find we've got a major chord. The second is minor, the third is minor, remembering our F sharp. The fourth is major, the fifth is major, the sixth is minor, and the seventh is diminished. And back to our first. Okay? So one more thing to say about this. The reason why I've been going into kind of harmonizing the scale is, in any piece of music you'll find the most important chords, we call them primary chords, are chords 1, 4 and 5. The first chord is always the most important. That's what sounds kind of the home key. That's where a song will often begin and end in that key, on that chord. But the next important chord is the fifth, and after that the fourth. Okay? And these are all major chords, notice. And then the other chords are minor, 2, 3 and 6 are minor, and then we've got our seventh, which is diminished. Okay, and this is the same in any key, any major key. So how do we describe harmony in a piece of music? Well, the first thing to do is to describe the chords. Are they major, minor, or are there some more interesting chords like diminished or augmented chords? And then you can also talk about dissonant harmony or consonant harmonies. Consonant harmonies will be those chords that take their notes from the diatonic scale. So all the notes kind of belong to the scale. Whereas dissonant chords are those that clash a little bit, and it's because they've taken notes from outside of the diatonic scale. One good example of that is the augmented chord, where you've taken the fifth and sharpened it, and it sounds a bit more clashing, a bit more dissonant. You get cluster chords in some pieces where you have you hear that clashing sound. That's a real dissonant sound, okay? And it's where you've got notes outside of the diatonic scale coming in. Now, I'll discuss in more detail some even more interesting chords like seventh chords, extended jazz harmony, and inversions and different voicings for chords in a later video. So be sure to have a look at that.